expires here in the third.
Welcome back to Clark USA fans. She steps onto the court, and something shifts. It's not loud at first. There's no warning siren, no flashing lights. Just a subtle change in energy, the kind you can feel before you fully understand it. One glance, one dribble, one slight movement of the wrist, and suddenly, defenders hesitate. Not because they're confused, because they're afraid of what comes next. This is Caitlin Clark. And she doesn't just play basketball. She rewrites it. There are players who dominate, players who score, players who lead. But every once in a generation, someone comes along who bends the game itself, who makes defenders question instincts they've trusted their entire careers. Clark is that kind of player. You can see it in the way defenses react to her before she even touches the ball. The moment she crosses half court, eyes lock in, feet shift. Help defenders inch closer. It's like the entire defense is holding its breath, waiting for something they know is coming, but still can't stop. Because with her, it only takes one moment. One shot, and the crowd erupts. One pass, and the defense collapses. One look, and 60,000 people freeze in anticipation. That's not normal. That's not just talent. That's something else entirely. Controlled chaos. The kind of chaos where everything looks unpredictable, but for her, it's all perfectly calculated. Every movement has purpose. Every decision is made at a speed that feels almost unfair. And here's the part that really gets inside a defender's head. She makes it look easy. No panic. No rush. No wasted motion. While everyone else is scrambling, she's calm. Composed. Already 3 steps ahead of the play that hasn't even unfolded yet. Think about that for a second. How do you guard someone who already knows what you're about to do? That's the real problem. Because when Clark has the ball, she's not reacting to the defense. The defense is reacting to her. And by the time they adjust, it's already too late. You'll see defenders do everything right, perfect stance, active hands, tight coverage, and still get burned. Not because they made a mistake, but because she forced one that didn't even exist yet. That's what separates her. Not just skill, not just confidence, but control. Control over the pace. Control over the moment. Control over the entire game. And when you combine that level of control with fearlessness, you get something unstoppable. You get a player who doesn't just create highlights, but creates moments that feel unreal. Moments where the crowd goes silent before exploding. Moments where commentators lose their words. Moments where even the opposing team just stops and watches. Because deep down, everyone knows they're witnessing something different. Something rare. Something that doesn't come around often. So here's the question. If this is what she looks like now, what happens when she gets even better?
Atkins?
Because what truly separates Caitlin Clark from everyone else on the floor isn't just what she does, it's what she sees. Or more accurately, what she sees before it even happens. Most players react to the game. Elite players anticipate it. But Clark? She operates like she's already watched the play unfold, seconds before it actually does. From the moment the ball touches her hands, her mind is processing at a level that feels almost impossible to keep up with. Every defender, every angle, every passing lane, every tiny gap in spacing, all of it instantly mapped out. It's like she's scanning the court in one glance and storing every detail: who's rotating, who's late, who's about to help, and who's about to make a mistake they don't even realize yet. And then, she attacks that mistake before it even exists. Watch her in transition, and you'll understand just how different she is. Most guards push the ball and look at the rim first. Maybe they glance at a teammate trailing behind. It's a simple progression: score first, pass second. Clark flips that entire logic on its head. The moment she starts moving, her eyes aren't locked on the basket. They're everywhere. She's reading the full floor in real time, tracking defenders sprinting back, identifying weak side rotations, calculating spacing like a chess player thinking 3 moves ahead. And then she makes a decision. Not a safe one. Not a predictable one. The perfect one. Sometimes it's a full-court pass that slices through defenders like it was drawn with a ruler, landing perfectly in a teammate's hands without breaking stride. Sometimes it's a bounce pass that changes direction at the last possible second, sneaking past defenders who thought they had the angle covered. And sometimes she doesn't pass at all, because she's already seen the opening no one else noticed. A tiny window, a split-second gap. And she takes it, finishing through traffic, absorbing contact, and somehow still converting a shot that had no business going in. That's the thing. With Clark, the impossible starts to feel routine. But it's not. It never was. There was a moment earlier in the season that perfectly captured this. She was bringing the ball up the floor, defender glued to her hip, lane completely clogged. The kind of situation where any normal point guard would slow things down. Reset. Call a play. But Clark doesn't think like that. She sees opportunity where others see pressure. Without even turning her head fully, she launched a no-look pass, a real one. Not the flashy kind for show, but the kind that defies logic. The ball floated over the defense and dropped perfectly into her teammate's hands under the basket. Wide open. Easy finish. And just like that, chaos turned into points. The crowd exploded. The commentators lost control. And the defender? Frozen. Standing there, hands on hips, staring at the scoreboard like they were trying to figure out what just happened, and how. That's the Clark effect. She doesn't just make plays. She makes plays that shouldn't be possible. And here's what makes it even more dangerous. It's not just the highlight passes. It's the quiet ones. The ones most people don't notice. The pass that arrives half a second earlier than expected, giving a shooter just enough time to set their feet. The entry pass placed perfectly so a post player can seal their defender without adjusting. The skip pass fired across the court with perfect timing, hitting the shooter right in rhythm. No hesitation. No correction. Just catch and shoot. Those plays don't trend online. They don't go viral. But they're the foundation of everything. Because they build trust. And when your teammates trust that the ball will find them, exactly when and where it should, everything changes. They move differently. They cut harder. They shoot with confidence. And suddenly, it's not just one player dominating the game. It's an entire system flowing through her. That's what makes Caitlin Clark so dangerous. She doesn't just elevate herself. She elevates everyone. And once that happens, you're not guarding one player anymore. You're trying to stop an entire offense that moves like it's thinking with one mind. Her mind.
By Nelson Adota, 4 on the game clock. Deep 3 from Mabry.
If her vision makes her special, her scoring makes her terrifying. Because take everything you just saw, every pass, every read, every moment of control, and now imagine a player with all of that, who can also score from anywhere on the floor. That's Caitlin Clark. And this is where defenses start to break. Not bend. Break. Because if she was only a passer, you could at least try to limit her scoring. Force her to shoot. Live with the results. But you can't do that. Not with her. Because the second you give her even a sliver of space, it's over. And nothing represents that better than her signature weapon, the step-back 3. It's not just a move. It's a message. A message to every defender who thinks they've done everything right. Tight coverage. Hands up. Perfect positioning. And then, one quick jab step. That's all it takes. Just enough to freeze your feet for half a second. And in that half second, she's already reading you, your balance, your weight shift, your reaction. Then comes the separation. 3 feet of space, created out of nothing. She leans back, rises up, perfectly balanced, and releases the shot so clean, so fast, that by the time your brain processes what just happened, the ball is already on its way down. Net. No rim. Pure. And here's the craziest part, the crowd already knows. Before the ball even gets there. You can see it. Fans in the front row rising out of their seats mid-shot. You can hear it in the commentators' voices jumping an octave before the ball even drops. Because when Caitlin Clark starts that step-back motion, everyone knows what's coming. And no one can stop it. That's not just scoring. That's psychological damage. Because after a few of those, defenders start questioning everything. Do I play closer? Do I give space? Do I contest harder? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. Because every adjustment you make, she's already ready for it. Play too tight? She blows by you. Give her space? She pulls from deep. Send help? She finds the open teammate instantly. It's a trap with no escape. And then there's something even more dangerous. Her timing. Because she doesn't just score. She scores when it hurts the most. Down by 6? Step back 3. Opponent just went on a run? Logo 3. Crowd getting quiet? Deep pull up, and suddenly the arena is shaking again. She feels momentum like it's something physical. Like she can reach out, grab it, and flip it in an instant. That's not normal. That's control on another level. She's not just putting points on the board, she's controlling emotion. Controlling energy. Controlling the entire atmosphere of the game. And when she gets hot, it's not a streak. It's a takeover. Shots from distances that shouldn't even be considered good looks start dropping like their routine. Defenders extend further and further out, trying to meet her range. And that's when it gets worse. Because now the floor opens up. Now the driving lanes are wide. Now the defense is stretched beyond its limits. And suddenly, you're not just guarding a shooter. You're guarding a problem you cannot solve. There was a moment, one of those shots, that perfectly summed it up. So deep behind the arc, the camera had to zoom out just to fit her and the basket in the same frame. No hesitation. No doubt. Just rise and fire. And when it dropped, you could hear it. Not just the crowd, but the silence from the other side. Because at that moment, every defender, every coach, every person watching understood one thing: there is no defensive scheme for this. You can't design a system for someone who can shoot accurately from that far, under pressure, with a hand in her face. You just hope. And hoping is not a strategy. That's what makes Caitlin Clark different. She doesn't just score within the game. She expands it. Forces defenses to guard areas they were never meant to cover. Forces coaches to rethink spacing, coverage, rotations, everything. Because once a player can consistently hit from that range, the rules change. And when the rules change, the entire game changes with it.
A huge, rattling 3 turnovers in the...
At some point, every defender guarding Caitlin Clark reaches the same realization. There is no right answer. Not a better answer. Not a smarter answer. No answer. Because everything you're taught as a defender, every principle, every rule, every instinct, starts to fall apart the moment she gets the ball. Let's break it down. You try to press up on her. Get into her space. Make her uncomfortable. Big mistake. Because all she needs is one hesitation, one slight pause, and suddenly you're frozen. Your feet stop for just a fraction of a second, and that's all it takes. She's gone. Blowing right past you, attacking the lane before your body even reacts. So you adjust. You give her space. Play it safe. Stay back. Even bigger mistake. Because now she doesn't even need to move. One quick glance at the rim, rise up, and she's pulling from deep. 28 feet. 30 feet. Doesn't matter. And she's hitting it. So now you panic a little. You call for help. Send a double. Trap her. Force the ball out of her hands. That should work, right? Wrong. Because doubling Caitlin Clark isn't pressure. It's an invitation. An invitation for her to do what she does best, pick you apart. The moment that second defender commits, she already knows where the open player is. Not just where they are, but where they're about to be. And the pass? It's already gone. Clean. Sharp. Perfectly timed. Now someone else is wide open, and your defense is scrambling. So now you try switching. Fresh defender. New matchup. Different look. Maybe that slows her down. It doesn't. Because she reads the switch faster than you can execute it. Before the new defender even gets set, she's already attacking the mismatch. A slower player? Flow by. A smaller player? Shoot over. A late rotation? Easy pass. Every adjustment creates a new problem. And every problem? She solves instantly. That's when it starts to show. Not on the scoreboard, but in the body language. First quarter, defenders are aggressive. Confident. Fighting through screens, staying active, staying locked in. By the third quarter, something changes. Hands drop just a little. close out slow by half a step. Eyes start drifting toward the bench, looking for help that isn't coming. Because deep down, they already know it's not working. And it's not going to. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. And here's what makes it even worse: her handle. It doesn't always get the attention it deserves, but it should. Because it's not just flashy. It's surgical. That behind-the-back crossover? It's not for style. It's a weapon. She uses it to manipulate angles, shift defenders out of position, and create space where there shouldn't be any. You think she's going left in an instant, the ball's back on her right side, and you're already behind the play. Your own momentum works against you. You slide one way, she's already gone the other. And now she's in the paint, weaving through traffic like she's seen this exact sequence before. Like she already knows where every defender is going to step. Because in her mind, she has. That slight hesitation at the top of the key? It doesn't look like much. But it's deadly. Just a small pause. A tiny change of speed. And suddenly, you're off balance. That one step of separation? That's all she needs. Because once she gets it, everything collapses. Defenders rotate. Help comes. The entire structure breaks down. And that's when it happens. The pass. To a shooter you didn't even see. To a cutter you didn't expect. To a spot you didn't think was open. But she saw it. She always does. That's the real nightmare. It's not one skill. It's all of them. Working together. In sequence. Constantly changing. You prepare for the step back, she drives. You prepare for the drive, she pulls up. You prepare for the shot, she passes. It never stops. It never repeats the same way twice. It's like trying to solve a puzzle, where the pieces keep changing shape. And the more you try to figure it out, the more lost you become. Because while you're reacting, she's already moved on. 3 steps ahead. Reading everything. Controlling everything. Executing in real time. It's like playing rock, paper, scissors. Against someone who already knows your move. You choose rock. She's already throwing paper. And walking away. That's what guarding Caitlin Clark feels like. Not competition. Not strategy. Futility.
Teams, NFL teams.
Bria Hartley from...
There's something about Caitlin Clark that doesn't show up fully in highlights. It's not the deep threes. Not the no-look passes. Not even the ankle-breaking moves. It's what happens to everyone else on the court when she's out there. Because she doesn't just create offense, she creates belief. And belief changes everything. Watch her team closely. Really watch. The cuts are sharper. The screens are stronger. The movement is constant. Players aren't hesitating. They're not second-guessing. They're playing free. Why? Because they know something most players never get to experience. If you get open, even for a split second, the ball is coming. And not just coming. It's coming perfectly. Right into your shooting pocket. At the exact right moment. With the exact right touch. No adjustment needed. Just catch and shoot. That level of trust transforms a team. Because now every player on the floor feels involved. Feels dangerous. Feels ready. And when 5 players feel like that at the same time, you're not guarding individuals anymore. You're facing a system that's alive. Flowing. Connected. All because of one player orchestrating everything. And this isn't just a feeling. It's real. It's measurable. In her rookie season, Caitlin Clark didn't just impress, she rewrote history. 337 assists. In just 40 games. That's not good. That's unreal. She didn't just break records, she shattered them. Records that stood for decades. Records set before she even stepped onto a professional court. And she didn't do it quietly. Every assist told a story. Every pass shifted momentum. Every play made the game easier for someone else. There was one moment, simple on the surface, but perfect in execution. An inbound play. Nothing special, at least, that's how it looked. But in a split second, she read the defense, saw the opening, and delivered a bounce pass through traffic with perfect timing. Her teammate caught it in stride and finished. Easy points. But that play? That wasn't easy. That was vision. Timing. Precision. That was elite. And that's what she does over and over again. Now look at what that does to the players around her. Take Kelsey Mitchell. Already talented. Already capable. But playing next to Clark? Different level. Because now defenses collapse toward Clark. Now attention shifts. Now space opens up. And Mitchell gets cleaner looks. Better opportunities. More rhythm. And suddenly, she's not just good. She's unstoppable too. Or look at Lexi Hull. A breakout performance. Career high numbers. Shooting lights out. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because someone is putting her in the perfect position to succeed again and again. That's the multiplier effect. Clark doesn't just add value. She multiplies it. Every player becomes more dangerous. Every possession becomes more efficient. Every opportunity becomes more likely to turn into points. And here's the part most people miss. Her passes are considerate. She's not forcing the ball. She's not chasing stats. She's thinking about the receiver. Is the shooter ready? Is the angle right? Is the timing perfect? If not, she waits, then delivers. Because a great pass isn't just accurate, it's thoughtful. And when teammates feel that, they trust you. And when they trust you, they play better. That's how chemistry is built. That's how teams transform. And that's exactly what happened. The Indiana Fever weren't just struggling before. They were stuck. But with Caitlin Clark running the offense, everything changed. The ball moved. The energy shifted. The identity evolved. Suddenly, this wasn't just a team trying to compete. This was a team that believed it could win. And belief spreads. From player to player. From bench to court. From team to fans. And speaking of fans, the impact didn't stop on the court. Attendance skyrocketed. Arenas filled. Energy returned. Because people weren't just watching games anymore, they were watching something happen. A transformation. Led by one player. Who made everyone around her better. One pass at a time.
Atkins. Oh, she...
There's a difference between being great and being unforgettable. And that difference shows up when everything is on the line. When the clock is ticking down. When the crowd goes quiet. When every possession feels like it could decide the entire game. That's where most players hesitate. That's where doubt creeps in. But not Caitlin Clark. She doesn't hesitate. She doesn't shrink. She leans in. Because those moments, they don't scare her. They belong to her. You can see it in her body language. No panic. No rush. No looking around for someone else to take over. She wants the ball. No, she demands it. Because deep down, she believes something most players only hope for. That when the moment comes, she's going to deliver. And more often than not, she does. There was a game-tight tense slipping away. Her second half hadn't been great. Shots weren't falling. Rhythm felt off. For most players, that's when doubt starts creeping in. You start playing safe. You start deferring. You start thinking instead of reacting. But Clark? She doesn't carry doubt. She erases it. Fast break. Game on the edge. She takes the ball and doesn't slow down. Coast to coast. Through defenders. Through contact. Finishes. And completes the play. That's not just skill. That's mentality. That's a player refusing to let a bad stretch define the moment that matters most. Because she understands something deeper. The game doesn't remember your struggles. It remembers your response. And her response is always aggressive. Always fearless. Always forward. That kind of composure doesn't come from nowhere. It's built over years. Years of being the player everyone looks at when things get tough. Years of carrying expectations that would break most athletes. Back in college, at University of Iowa, she wasn't just a star. She was the center of everything. Every defense was built to stop her. Every arena was packed because of her. Every game came with pressure. And she didn't just handle it, she dominated it. She broke records. She filled arenas. She turned moments into history. And now, she's doing it all over again. At the highest level. Against the best in the world. Same confidence. Same control. Same result. Because pressure doesn't change her. It sharpens her. Even when things go wrong, even when she takes a hard fall, the kind that makes the entire arena gasp, she gets up. No hesitation. No fear. just straight back into the game. That resilience? You can't teach that. That's internal. That's who she is. And here's what really makes it special. It's not just the big moments. It's the quiet ones. When the offense stalls. When the team looks stuck. When nothing seems to be working. That's when you see her true impact. No frustration. No head down. She claps her hands. Calls for the ball. Resets everything. One dribble. One hesitation. One smart decision. And suddenly, the rhythm is back. The movement returns. The confidence rises. The game shifts again. That's leadership. Not loud. Not forced. Just undeniable. She absorbs pressure. Processes it. And turns it into fuel. Every single time. And that's what separates her. Because talent can get you far. Skill can make you elite. But mentality? Mentality is what makes you legendary. And Caitlin Clark has that rare mindset, the kind that doesn't just survive pressure, but thrives in it.
Atkins. Oh, she...
At some point, the conversation around Caitlin Clark stops being about highlights. It stops being about stats. And it becomes something bigger, impact. Because what she's doing isn't just impressive. It's transformative. You can measure points. You can count assists. You can break down efficiency. But how do you measure the moment a league shifts? How do you quantify the exact second when something changes and everyone can feel it? Because that's what's happening right now. And the numbers? They're just the beginning. Her rookie season didn't just live up to expectations. It shattered them. 337 assists. Think about that for a second. Not over years. Not slowly built up. But in a single season. She didn't just break the record, she blew past it. A mark that once felt untouchable suddenly wasn't even close. And records like that? They don't fall unless something extraordinary is happening. But here's the part that matters more, how she did it. This wasn't stat padding. This wasn't system-driven. This was control. Every pass calculated. Every decision intentional. Every possession shaped by her vision. And that kind of control? It changes everything. Because now defenses have to adjust, not just to a player, but to a style they weren't built to handle. Spacing changes. Rotations stretch further. Strategies start to crack. And once that happens, the ripple effect begins. Look at the team. Look at how the Indiana Fever evolved. This wasn't a slow rebuild. This was a shift. From struggling to believing. From reacting to attacking. From surviving to competing. And at the center of it all, one player. Running everything. Controlling everything. Elevating everyone. But it didn't stop there. Because her impact didn't stay inside the game. It exploded beyond it. Attendance numbers didn't just rise, they skyrocketed. Arenas filled up. Energy returned. People who hadn't been watching before, now they were showing up. Watching. Talking. Paying attention. Because something felt different. Every time Caitlin Clark stepped on the court, it felt like an event. Like you might see something you've never seen before. And that kind of anticipation? You can't manufacture it. You can't fake it. It has to be earned. And she earned it. Game by game. Moment by moment. Highlight by highlight. But even beyond the crowd. Even beyond the numbers. There's something deeper happening. She's changing how people think about the game itself. What's a good shot? What's too far? What's possible? Those boundaries? They're shifting. Because when someone consistently does things that weren't supposed to work, they stop being exceptions. They become the new standard. And that's how evolution happens. Not slowly, but suddenly. Through one player. Forcing everyone else to catch up. And here's the scary part, she's just getting started. This is still early. Still the beginning. Still the foundation. Because players like this, they don't peak quickly. They grow. They adapt. They expand their game even further. So if this version of Caitlin Clark is already changing the league, what happens when she reaches her absolute peak? What happens when the vision gets sharper? The range gets deeper? The control gets even tighter? At that point, it's not just about breaking records anymore. It's about redefining what the record means. Because when one player shifts expectations this much, the league doesn't stay the same. It evolves around her.
Banked it in! Ariel Atkins!
By now, you've seen the passes, the shots, the moments that don't feel real. But none of that happens without what's going on up here. Because the real power of Caitlin Clark isn't just in her handles or her range, it's in her mind. That's the engine. That's where everything starts. Most elite players rely on instinct. They react quickly, trust their training, and make decisions in the moment. And that works. Until it doesn't. Because instinct has limits. But anticipation? That's a different level. And Clark doesn't just anticipate, she calculates. Every movement on the court is data. Every defender's step, every shift in balance, every slight hesitation, she reads it, processes it, and turns it into an advantage. All in real time. That's why it feels like she's always ahead. Because she is. Not by chance. By design. When she brings the ball up the floor, she's not just thinking about the next move. She's thinking about the next three. If the defender shades left, she already knows the counter. If help rotates early, she's already picked out the open shooter. If nothing opens, she creates it. That's the difference. She doesn't wait for opportunities. She builds them. Piece by piece. Like a chess player setting up a checkmate you won't see until it's too late. And the scary part? She makes it look effortless. There's no visible strain. No overthinking. No hesitation. Just smooth, controlled execution. Because what looks like instinct is actually preparation meeting awareness. Years of repetition. Thousands of game situations. Countless reads and reactions all stored. All ready. All firing instantly when needed. That's why defenders feel lost. Because while they're reacting to what's happening, she's already moved on to what's next. And that gap? That's where she wins. Over and over again. But it's not just about processing speed. It's about decision-making under pressure. Because anyone can make the right play when things are calm. But when the defense collapses, when the clock is running down, when everything tightens, that's when mistakes happen. Except with her, they don't. Or at least, not often. Because even in chaos, she stays controlled. That's the paradox. Everything around her can look wild, fast, unpredictable, intense, but inside, she's calm, focused, precise. That's why her passes hit perfectly. That's why her shots come in rhythm. That's why her decisions feel inevitable. She's not guessing. She knows. And that kind of clarity? It's rare. It's what separates great players from generational ones. But there's another layer to this. Something even deeper. Adaptation. Because no matter how good you are, defenses adjust. They study you. They prepare for you. They try to take away your strengths. And for most players, that creates limits. But not for Caitlin Clark. Because every adjustment against her becomes new information. And she uses it. You take away the three, she attacks the lane. You collapse the paint, she finds the open shooter. You try to speed her up, she slows the game down. She doesn't fight adjustments. She absorbs them, then flips them. And suddenly, the thing you thought would stop her becomes the reason she beats you. That's intelligence at the highest level. Not just knowing what to do, but knowing when to do it. And doing it without hesitation. Because hesitation? That's the only real weakness in basketball. And she doesn't have it. That's why everything flows. Why everything connects. Why everything works. Because behind every move, there's a decision. And behind every decision, there's a mind operating faster, sharper, and more efficiently than almost anyone else on the court. That's the real advantage. That's the real difference. That's the real reason Caitlin Clark feels unstoppable. Not just because of what she can do, but because of how she thinks. At this point, it's no longer just about what Caitlin Clark has done. It's about what she's going to do next. Because everything we've seen so far, the deep threes, the impossible passes, the control under pressure, feels like just the beginning of something much larger. Something that hasn't fully revealed itself yet. And that's what makes it uncomfortable for defenses. And exciting for everyone else. Because when a player already looks this advanced, this early in her career, the question becomes, How do you stop what's still evolving? Right now, defenders are still learning, still adjusting, still trying to figure out how to contain someone who doesn't fit traditional defensive rules. But the reality is simple. There are no perfect schemes for her. Not because coaches aren't smart, not because defenses aren't disciplined, but because her game is constantly expanding. You take away one option, she develops another. You force her deeper, she extends her range. You speed her up, she slows everything down and reads you anyway. It's a constant evolution. And evolution doesn't pause for adjustments. It keeps moving. That's the problem. And it's why the future feels unpredictable. Because if this version of her is already breaking defensive structures, what happens when she refines it even further? When the reads become faster? When the shot becomes more consistent? When the decision-making becomes even sharper? That's where things start to feel unfair. But it's not just about her skill improving. It's about influence. Because players like her don't just grow individually. They change how others play. You can already see it happening. Younger guards start shooting deeper. Offenses start spacing further. Teams start building systems around perimeter creativity and fast reads. And that shift? It spreads. Because once a new style proves effective at the highest level, everyone starts copying it. And that's how eras begin. Not with announcements, but with adaptation. Now think about what that means long-term. If Caitlin Clark continues on this path, she doesn't just become a great player in history. She becomes a reference point, a blueprint, a standard future players are measured against. And that changes everything. Because once a player becomes a blueprint, the game doesn't just remember them. It builds around them. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because every league eventually adapts. Defenses improve. Strategies evolve. New talent rises. But the players who define eras? They stay ahead of that cycle. They force the adaptation. They create problems that take years to solve. And by the time the league adjusts, they've already moved forward again. That's the kind of trajectory she's on. Not static. Not predictable. Expanding. And that's what makes the future feel so uncertain. Because we are watching someone who hasn't hit her ceiling yet. Not even close. And when that ceiling does come into view, it might not look like a ceiling at all. It might look like a new level of the game entirely. One we haven't fully understood yet. One we're still learning how to describe. And that brings us to the final question. Not just what she is right now, but what she's going to become. And whether the league is ready for that version of her when it arrives.
On Tuesday, but wasn't a banner performance from beyond the arc either. Just 5 of 20.
At some point, a player stops being just a player. They become a turning point, a reference, a moment in time where everything before them feels different from everything after. And that's exactly what's happening with Caitlin Clark. Because what we've witnessed so far isn't the final version. It's not the finished product. It's the beginning of something that's still unfolding. Every game adds another layer. Every performance expands the expectation. Every moment pushes the boundary a little further. And the league feels it. Defenses adjust. Coaches rethink systems. Players adapt their own styles just to keep up. But the truth is simple. You don't solve players like this. You only try to survive them. Because the moment you think you've figured her out, she changes again. That's what separates a star from a phenomenon. Stars shine within the game. Phenomena reshape it. And she's already doing that. Not through one season. Not through one highlight. But through a consistent pattern of moments that feel slightly ahead of what basketball is supposed to allow. Deep shots that stretch geometry. Passes that bend defensive logic. Reads that arrive before the play even fully forms. And every time it happens, the same reaction follows. That can't be normal. But it keeps happening. And eventually, not normal becomes expected. That's the dangerous part. Because once greatness becomes routine, the bar shifts permanently. Now imagine the next version. Stronger reads. Cleaner execution. Even deeper range. Even faster decisions. At that point, defenses won't just be reacting. They'll be guessing. And guessing is where control disappears. That's where dominance lives. And the most interesting part? She's still early in the journey. Still building. Still learning. still refining. Which means everything we've seen so far might just be the foundation, not the peak, not the limit, just the base layer of something much bigger. And if that's true, then the league isn't just witnessing a great player. It's witnessing a shift in direction, a new standard forming in real time, a style of basketball that prioritizes vision, range, creativity, and fearless decision-making at every level of the floor. And once that becomes the norm, there's no going back, because basketball evolves slowly, until someone forces it to evolve quickly. And that's what she represents. A force, a reset point, a reminder that the game is never truly finished, only rewritten. So the final question isn't whether she's great. That's already answered. The real question is bigger. What happens when the rest of the league finally catches up to a player who is already thinking beyond the next version of the game? Because by the time they adjust, she may already be somewhere else entirely. And that's the point of no return. Not just for her career, but for the game itself.